Oh, good morning from the Philippines. I'm super excited to see some familiar faces and some new names that I do not yet know. Um, so I will let me move a few things. Okay, so I am Shanna Bradley. I am the founder of Global Birth Community. We train Christian doulas in birth and postpartum, and we're working on lactation and bereavement, and we have childbirth educator, so a lot of things there. Most of you know who I am, so I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I will share that we are a faith-based training program that wants to see women from every community, every culture to be able to use birthwork as ministry. We know that there are three times in a person's life when they're most open to spiritual things, and that is birth, death, and marriage. And so pastors already oversee the funeral ceremony and can offer the gospel, the marriage ceremony and can offer the gospel. And birth is this season of time where people are searching for answers, searching spiritual things, where women can come alongside of women and really be the hands and feet of Jesus, meeting both those physical and spiritual needs. And so that's really kind of the heart behind Global Birth. And we are hosting these culture of care Philippine immersion trips over into the Metro Manila area, working with a local birth center. Well, it's a birthing home, which is a little different, kind of. I can explain that. It is and isn't different, but how they set themselves up and define themselves is a little bit different. And so, really, it's a chance for me to share my love, my passion for birth, babies, missions, ministry, Jesus, all those things that I've been searching for and doing for years with all of you. So, I know that this is a harder spot to be able go go internationally to do birth work or observe birth. And so now that I'm in this amazing place, I want to share that and offer that to others who have been seeking the same thing. And so, yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. There is an email called Culture of Care that I sent out. Hopefully, you guys have all received that. If not, let me know and I will send it to you. If you're watching the recording and you have not gotten it, just send me an email at hello@globalbirthcommunity.com and I will send that out. It has a lot more details of what to expect, the dates, living arrangements, just the whole kind of basic foundation. But I would love to go a little deeper and answer any questions. This will be our first round of trips. I have led several trips overseas, um, going with the team or like meeting up with the team. This is the first time where I'm overseas already and the team is just coming to me. So we've had teams for doula trainings to Kyrgyzstan, to South Africa, and to the Philippines. And so the idea for me isn't new, but it's just a little different logistically because I'm already here. One of the other things, I'm not sure if it's in the paperwork, but we will have team meetings. So once we establish the teams for each trip, then we will have like a monthly team meeting so everyone can get to know each other a little bit, do a few activities, talk through a few cultural points, that sort of thing to make you guys as ready as you can be. And so that you're not a bunch of strangers meeting for the first time in the Manila airport. So, yeah, the goal really is for you to deepen your heart for global birth, for global ministry of birth work, whether that's in your backyard, in your neighborhood, or across the sea. It gives you a chance to work with local midwives, potentially observe births. You'll definitely get to see prenatals, postpartums. The births here, aren't super high volume, so I can't promise that, but the hope would be that you guys would potentially be able to see a birth or two. Yeah, so let me know what questions. So, like, say your name, where you're from, if you have a question, and then what is your question, so I can get to know some of you who I do not know yet. So, this is really a time where I don't know what I haven't shared because it's all in my mind. So I want to answer those questions or comments or concerns that you guys have that might not have been written out to the best of our ability. Again, January and February will be the first time doing this shorter trip in this specific way. So our other trips have been international doula training, where we put together teams and went and trained and taught overseas. So this will just look a little bit different because this will be focused on you versus us focusing on another group. So, yeah, I'm excited to answer any questions to the best of my ability that I can, since we haven't done it yet, but we are shaping it around what you guys need, what is most helpful to you. Yeah. So, who has a question?
My name's Jennifer. I'm in Pennsylvania and I don't have a question. I just wanted to let you know that I didn't have a question.
Okay.
Hi, this is Roxana from Ohio. You mentioned bereavement. What does that entail?
Yeah, so currently we don't have a bereavement program through Global Birth Community, but we are looking for an instructor to help us build out a Christian bereavement doula training through our organization. So to walk alongside moms who have lost through miscarriage, stillbirth, that sort of thing, that's really on our heart. We touch on it in doula training, but it's not in depth by any means. So that we hopefully will have that next year, though.
Okay, thanks.
Shanna,
Yeah,
if someone wants to come for longer,
yeah.
um, do we, what kind of arrangements? Do we need to make our own arrangements for like where to stay, or how would that work?
Yeah, well, if it's Dawn, then Dawn can come as long as she wants. So yeah,
Yeah.
so so we have a three-bedroom apartment, and it's not fancy, but it hits all the basics. It has one bathroom that's a wet bath, so it's a shower, and a toilet and a sink. But it's all like together. So wet baths, like yeah, when you take a shower, everything gets wet.
Yeah.
Um, and and then there's a small little kitchenette, and I have a video of it, and I can send that out with this recording, a video of the apartment. But basically, it would be a shared space. And then if you want to eat at the birth center, you can do that Monday through Friday for a small fee. Each day they have a house manager, and she will make lunch. So if you come on a trip specifically, that will be part of it. You'll eat lunch with the midwives in the birthing center, birthing home, same thing. And then if you are there outside of that internship, you can still do the same thing. Or you could make it yourself in the apartment. It's up to you. So yes, you can stay longer. We have most people traditionally have been here for 1 month to 10 weeks, have been
You
here.
you you cut
Yes,
out.
sorry. Most people have been here, they'll come for 1 month to 10 weeks. So you can stay longer. There's some fees involved, housing and birth center fees.
Okay.
Um, but the only thing is like if so we just have to figure that out because there are other teams coming.
Right.
So, following the two trips that we have planned, the reason why there's dates is then we have three German midwives coming for 10 weeks. So there would be space to stay. We would just have to, yeah, figure that out. You'd be sharing the space with the other midwives, and then you would also be sharing like the births and things like that. So, but
Okay.
yeah, if you said, hey, next July or something like next July, I want to come for the whole month. That's a whole nother thing where we can definitely do that. Even if you wanted to like bring your best friend or bring your daughter or bring your sister, whatever that looks like, we can work around you coming at any point at any time that fits into your schedule. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. It won't look quite the same, but the
Right.
opportunity is still there to be an intern basically year round. Um, we just will have specific trainings and excursions and things that we do when we have like set shorter trips. But yeah.
Okay. And when is the best time to come?
Yeah, so that depends on you. Um, Really, January, February. March is okay as well. April, May are the hottest months, and they get pretty hot. And then starting in June, it starts to rain. So actually, June isn't so bad, but it kind of bounces back between hot and rain. And then July, really, in my opinion, I don't know, this is my first time, but July really starts the rainy season. That's when the typhoons come. So we've had three typhoons over the last week or so that have made things interesting. And then they have typhoons all the way through the end of the year.
Mm.
So
Oh,
now through
wow.
the yeah, now through the end of the year is the rainy season. And so again, I have not experienced that yet. But everyone's kind of like, yeah, this is kind of what it's like for the rest of the year. So it's cooler, but it's also like dreary and overcast and it's like rain and then not rain, rain, not rain. So yeah, it's not as hot for people who have issues with it's like always 100% humidity. So people who have an issue with humidity and heat don't come in the hot season. But it will be wet the rest of the time. So,
Okay.
what other questions do you guys have?
Hi, Shanna. So good to see you.
Yes, you too. I know you're coming.
I miss you.
I miss you.
So, my daughter Grace is very interested in birthwork, and so she's in Hawaii right now. Um, and she had a couple of questions. First, I'm wondering who you're targeting specifically.
Yeah, so the short-term teams are really for anybody who wants to get into birth, or who's starting out, or just wants to see birth in another culture. It's really for anybody, but it's more specifically geared that way, where we'll do workshops and classes, and it'll be more fun and interactive. But also, if like Grace is a world traveler, which we have a lot of those, who come and they're like, hey, I can kind of navigate the daily stuff by myself. Um, she might be interested in coming outside of a team so that she can just do her own thing. So, like when we have German midwives, I don't know why that's so common, but it is, or Northern European midwives that just come here for like a month or so. They're like, pick me up from the airport and just, I'll do my own thing after that. And so that's what they're used to doing. That's why I'm organizing teams with events and excursions and things like that for the people who have never done a lot of overseas stuff. It'll be fun. There'll be stuff to do. But if she wants to come and she's like, hey, like I'm used to traveling by myself, I can get my own public transit. I'm okay being alone, then she could come at any time. Just some people don't like that. You know what I mean? So we had an intern here recently and
Yeah.
she was bored out of her mind. She would not take public transit by herself. She'd never been in another country quite like this. And so she was really dependent on anybody else for everything. And that was really hard for her. But then we had another intern who just came who has lived overseas and done other missions. And she was like, hey, I will get on public transit. I can do my own thing. Just drop me off here. Like, you'll hear from me later. Like, so it really kind of depends on personality and need. These two specific trips will be heavy on like team activities and classes and like doing fun things and seeing things as a group. But we are open to interns at any point where you can come and, just do your own thing.
So, okay, so you do have free time with excursions and stuff, but then also there'll be classes and a lot revolving around birth.
Yes.
Am I understanding? Okay. Yeah, because she's looking and starting now to study to be a midwife. And so, you know, I think the trip interests her a lot for that reason, but also for the missions and the international experience as well.
Yeah, so this will be very involved. I will be bothering you guys the whole time. No, but I will be there to help with different things. The midwives will teach different things. Like for instance, even though you could be a doula or a doula in training, um, we will have a suture class. So I'm super excited about this. So for example, one of the classes that we'll do is a suture class. So I will take everyone to the meat market the open air meat market where you see all of the things. So we'll go to the meat market and then you'll pick out your own chicken. So you get to see all the smell, you get to see all the things, smell all the smells, buy your own chicken. So like your own little miniature chicken, and then we'll take it back to the birth center and Auntie Lydia will make some incisions, some different tears in your chicken, and she will teach you different suturing, and then we'll suture our chickens, and then we will cook our chickens, and then you will eat your chicken. And so that's like one of the things that we'll do. So even though obviously I'm currently still a doula, but as a student midwife, like I don't even want to suture, and like that's my least favorite thing about wanting to be a midwife. But I'll tell you, Lydia is a midwife and she's very good at suturing. And it's still fun to do. So even if you're like, no, I'm never going to be a midwife, I'm never going to suture anyone, that's totally fine. It's just still a fun experience to go do that. And so again, normally like a doula training, you wouldn't suture. Like that's outside of your scope. I understand that. But it's still super fun. And going to the market is super fun and gross and disgusting and all these things, but also neat all at the same time. We'll probably take public transit and jump on a jeepney, which is like their jump on and off vehicles. And we'll do that together. So that's what I'm saying. Like this will be like a thing we do together. But there'll also be free time. So how it works is clinic is 9 to 11-ish every morning, Monday through Friday, and sometimes Saturday. So ideally it's 9 to 11. But if a woman works and she can't come, then she's free to come on the weekends for a prenatal or postpartum. And so sometimes there's just like random women that come in whenever they can, but the majority of women come between 9 and 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. So we have clinic in the morning, and literally you're next door, so you just literally walk across the yard, the playground. It's really a playground, and you come to clinic and do the prenatals and that sort of thing, and then you'll eat lunch at the clinic, and then after that you have free time from basically noon on. So most afternoons we will do something, a class and I'm not talking like a whole afternoon class. I'm talking maybe an hour about just God's heart for women and how birth work plays into that globally. Like, not like crazy intensive, but we'll also do like helping babies breathe, which is newborn resuscitation. So we'll do that training, which takes a long time. That's a more in-depth training. But we'll do that like one afternoon. We'll have an orientation when everyone arrives. We'll go to the local mall to get basic essentials, like things like that. But there'll also be a lot of free time for you to spend with the Lord to potentially, do different things. We'll go to church together. But yeah, it's not like some missions trips where like every hour is like scheduled out. That won't be the case. So there will be free time, but I'm also not wanting you to sit and be bored the whole time. There is no internet in the apartment. There's no TV in the apartment. There is internet, like really pretty good internet in the birthing center next door. So they want interns to go to the birth center to be online. Like that's just what they decided a long time ago. So you do have access to Wi-Fi. You just have to go next door. And then we will help navigate. So here's kind of the difference, Renee, too. Like when we have an intern that just like shows up, they do airport transport, but then they're kind of on their own. So they have to figure out how to get money. They have to figure out how to get a Sims card. They have to figure out, all of those things. We want to make it easier for people who this isn't like something they normally do. So we'll provide the Sims cards. We'll do something along that lines where we make sure they have the phone service. So I don't know if we'll provide it directly or take them to get it. We're trying to figure that out because when you get a Sims card, you have to register it. And so I have to figure out the logistics of that, of like what makes the most sense of how that will work. But we want to make it as least stressful as possible because there already be things that are stressful. But this is kind of like an experience handed to you without as much of you trying to figure out logistics while also including some fun stuff and some educational stuff. So, and then postpartums, how they work, they're all in home.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. So postpartum visits are all in home unless they come for their um, genetic testing and their hearing exam. So sometimes the women will come for those, but everything else is done in home. So we travel to them via different methods. Some we can walk to, some we take a trike to, we take a jeepney to, some we take all three because it's a combination of all those things. And so we will split up into smaller teams, which is why the teams are only 4 to 6 people. But we will go probably two per midwife to go into their homes to do the postpartums. And you get to really experience different communities and sit with them in their homes and things like that. They're not super long postpartums. It usually takes longer to get to and from their house than we actually are in their house sometimes. But yeah, it's an experience to get to go do those things. So those are random times. Those are scheduled whenever the midwife and the mom work out a time. So there are 8 midwives, and they each work in pairs of two. So they're always the same pair unless they switch for some reason. But so 2 midwives that are on for 24 hours at a time. So there's always 2 midwives next door, and they work from 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. So um, when generally when they're on shift, they don't have postpartums. So then they will come in on their days off and they go to the postpartums of the births that they attended. So they rotate who is the primary on a birth. And so if it's like Auntie Helen's birth, and then she will go to all the postpartums. And so then whenever Auntie Helen schedules with the mom, then it could be before clinic, before 9 a.m. So like sometimes 8:30, you'll go do a postpartum. Sometimes it's directly after prenatals at like say 11 or 12 or after lunch. And sometimes it's at 4 p.m. when she gets off shift. So it can really vary at any point. They just, they work that out. So there's no real schedule to that. I just ask them the week of like who has postpartums this week and like what times, and then we can send you out that way. So like some interns might be like, hey, I really want the 8 a.m. ones, and other interns are like, I'll take the 4 p.m. ones. So yeah, we'll work that out. So
I have a question real
yeah.
quick. Wow, my brain just blanked. So I guess okay, so my first question I guess is I'm thinking more like long term in a way. Like training to be a midwife. I know this is like a completely different thing, but training to be a midwife because that's kind of my biggest reason for going is to
Yeah.
kind of see if that's like an area where I would like to start training to be a midwife. Um, I guess like kind of I don't know, this might be I need to ask a different time, but like how does that I guess work with so like this trip is more for people who are interested in maybe starting birth work and kind of getting their feet wet in that whole thing, or is it more for also people who are been a doula for several years would like to maybe start working towards becoming a midwife as well? And
Yeah. So these midwives are used to training people all the time or like allowing interns. And the moms are very open to that. And so obviously they have to get permission, but I don't want to get you too excited, but it's very unique here. They will just let you do stuff.
okay.
Not in a bad way. So don't
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
that. But like if they know that you're ready for something, and
Right.
they'll be like, okay, here you go. Like, and they'll stand there and make sure that you're competent. But we had a doula here recently who's not even ever wanting to be a midwife, but I was on vacation for my birthday and I wasn't here. And so I wasn't at the birth to be the one to do all the things. And so they're like, here, catch the head. And then they're like, here, catch the placenta. And she's not even a doula. She's just literally these were the first 3 births she's ever seen in her life, besides her own. And so she was like, what is happening? And I wasn't there. But she was like telling me about it. And yeah, so they were like, they felt comfortable enough with her. And again, you're like laying on a normal bed. So they have these, and you'll see this in the video. But they're like a wooden frame bed with a like a little mattress. And so you're sitting on the bed. So like even if you, let's just say, worst case scenario, you didn't even catch the baby's not going anywhere. But they're very much like, hey, yeah, we want you to experience this. They have very, very low risk moms. And they do transfer out if there's issues that they can, foresee. And so they have very few complications. I'm not saying obviously you can't predict a shoulder dystocia, you can't predict a postpartum hemorrhage. but but for the most part, it's pretty simple. And so they do allow you to really be hands-on as much as you feel comfortable and they feel comfortable with you. And so if you're like, yeah, I mean, if you'll let me catch a baby, I would be very open to that, then they would be open to that as well. So,
Okay. And so I guess you would have to be part of a actual training program and then go there, or
no,
would
no.
they actually train you themselves?
So are you talking for like the 1 to 2 weeks? Or are you talking like, hey, I'd like to do what you're doing?
Pretty much do what they're doing. So like, I mean, I would like go for the 1 to 2 weeks just to like see things, and then I guess to further on the top of that, be like, hey, can y'all actually train me to be a midwife? Is that possible, or like
Yeah, I
not
mean that's
actually a
what
thing?
yeah, that's what they're doing for me right now. So,
I know you're
um,
frozen.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what they're doing for me. So I am a student midwife, but y what's your pathway? So they would be able to do a CIM pathway, so Certified International Midwife pathway, but they would not be able to do a NARM pathway. So if you want your NARM, that would not be an option for you, because NARM is interesting. But they don't generally count international births except for like a few places. But one of those places is currently in Davao City, which is another island south of Manila on Mindanao. So, what I did when I was here a year ago doing a doula training, I did go to Davao and I did check out that birth center, which is a NARM. It's in the process. So, it was doing a different program where it was connected with NARM, and then they developed their own Christian midwifery program, and this is the first year they've transitioned into that. So they're working on accreditation from NARM, but they're like deep into that process. And so that's going really well. So they would potentially most likely be NARM certified at that point. So if you go to Davao, you would be able to go and get your NARM certification. So and in Davao it's called New Life. Why am I not New Life? Um, so if you look up New Life Midwifery School or Midwife International Midwifery School, that
Yes, that's
is,
the one I
yeah,
was interested in joining soon. So that's what, okay, that
yeah.
makes sense.
So while you're
Awesome.
here, it would cost, it depends on how far you buy your ticket out. But if you purchased your ticket like sooner than later, you can fly to and from Davao for under $100 easy. And they generally will allow you to come. And I can connect you if you haven't talked to them, but I could connect you there. Um, and potentially you go and stay there for a few days as well. So,
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
What about
I have a
language?
question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, somebody go ahead.
Do they speak English or generally another language?
Yeah, so both. Um, so here in the Manila area, so Davao is different, but there's multiple languages spoken here. But the main one in Manila is Tagalog. So Tagalog is its own language with some Spanish influence. So the Spanish owned the Philippines for a really long time. So you'll hear like Spanish words. It's kind of interesting. So you'll hear some Spanish words, but most people do speak English. I would say in our clinic, it's a smaller percent than some of the other clinics that I've been at. Um, but if they don't speak English, the midwives will like help you in that. But I will say the midwives, like outside of you doing direct contact, um, they can speak English and they will speak English to you, but when they're talking to each other, they don't speak English. So there'll be a lot of times where I'm like sitting there and they're having like full-blown conversations, which is completely fine. I'm just telling you this, where you're just kind of like, I have no idea what's going on. But if you talk to them or if you say, hey, like, what was that conversation? As far as like if they talk to a mom or something, they're happy to, give you the overview in English. There's just some clinics here that speak only really in English. But this clinic, it depends on the midwives, but they will always speak to you in English and be happy to explain things to you. So one of the things that's interesting about this specific place versus some other ones is part of the fee that you're paying goes directly to each midwife. So whenever an intern comes, there's a fee involved, and um, I'm so bad at reading the comments. Okay, so there's a fee involved that goes directly to housing and directly to the midwives. So there's 8 midwives, so they each get a percentage, an equal percentage of that. And so they're working directly for you in a sense. Like they're excited for you to come and they want to teach you things and they want to show you things and they want you to get the most out of it because you're paying them directly. So you're this time you're paying me directly, but I'm paying them directly. I'm just making it easier for you so you don't have to figure out this many pesos for her and this many pesos for her and this many yeah. So that's how it's done now is that each intern pays so many pesos, which is what they use here, to each midwife, and they have to get the exact right amount and like hand it out. It's like this whole weird thing. So I'm making that easier for you, but they know that you're paying them directly because they're kind of capped on what they can make due to their own community. So each area, like kind of like not even like town, they call it barangays, but each barangay has like their own rules on like minimum wage and like what people can make and they get day wages and so they can only make X amount of dollars per day. It's different. And so you paying them directly kind of bypasses that. And they are able to make a more living wage. So they're very underpaid. Um, yeah, so this is a way for you directly to bless them as well, while you learn things and then they also directly benefit. And then a small percent also goes to the organization as a whole. And so it covers the rent, which they rent it. So like it just goes to the place that they rent it from. And then directly to the each midwife gets a percent. And then then the organization, which is it's Shipra Birthing Home, but the overseeing organization is Help International, and then they get a percent that helps their ministry to keep going as well. So,
I have a question. If somebody was wanting, or if I was wanting to do like a longer internship, like a month long or something like that, what would that look like? I know you were talking about it would be more flexible, more laid back, but what would, I guess, what would the day to day look like for that?
yeah, so if you wanted to come for a longer term, basically it's the same thing. You live in the apartment and you can choose to eat
Mhm.
lunch at the birth center or not, which is an additional fee. And then
Mhm.
you would basically you're on your own. So Jerry is the founder. She just turned 80 years old. So she founded Shipra, 30 some years ago. And her her she feels like this is your thing that you're paying for. So you do as much or as little as you want. So no one is like on top of you. No one is saying you have to do this or this. So basically, you're free to come and go. But prenatals are basically 9 to 11 Monday through Friday. And then postpartums are, like I said, random. And then obviously births are random. And then yeah, they just leave you be. So they give you the basics of like phone and get you some basic food and tell you how the world works, right? And then they say, show up when you want to show up, and we will call you for births, and you come if you want to come, and if you don't want to come, don't come. If you want to go to the beach for 4 days and miss 2 births, like that's up to you. Like it's
Mhm.
it's whatever you want to do with your time. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah. But also there's a lot of downtime with no internet and you can be really bored. So again, it's one of those things. If you're a student, it's easy because you can study and do all those things. And if you're really independent, so we have Grab here, which is Uber. So
Right.
so literally it's expensive. It's a lot more expensive than local transit, but it's not that expensive. But basically for $2 you can get anywhere for $2. Um, and so, yeah, there's malls really close. You could, if you really like walking, you could walk to the mall.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, so there's lots to do. It just, again, if you don't like doing things alone, it's can be really boring. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
It's Roxana. So for the postpartum visits, do you already have transportation like set up for us to go to the place to the
So
homes?
you'll go with a midwife. You will go with her. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
do we have to pay for that transportation or is that already
It's already
taken?
included. Yep.
It's already included. Okay. And then like is it does the group split up or does the whole group go with that midwife?
Yeah. So we would split it up to two at a time. These
Okay.
homes, this is my son's room. This is embarrassing. But so here's say this is like the room right here, okay?
Mhm.
So it's probably I don't know how big it is, but it's not very big. Most of these people that you'll go to, this is their whole house.
Mm.
So they might have two plastic chairs and a plastic table that sits maybe like four, like really tight, like something you would have maybe on a patio. And so you and the midwife might take their only two chairs. Um, yeah, it's and then you or you'll just sit on the bed, which is like a foam mattress on the floor. So you might just sit on the mattress on the floor and do your newborn exam, or not your newborn exam, but your postpartum exam. It's very tight spaces, and so the midwife plus two is really the max. Otherwise, it can be super overwhelming.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we would
Okay.
divvy that up. So again, the ideal is four, but I'm willing to do six because sometimes, hey, we have a group of, we really have to make this time or this is the best time or whatever. Four is the most ideal, but I'm willing to do six women at a time. But again, we would divide up, you know, two here, two there. And again, we can do it where like say there's six people, four of them are doing prenatals and two of them are out doing postpartums so that like we're kind of dividing conquering. But yeah, it can be overwhelming. So I'll figure out the logistics of that, but basically no more than two at a time. But
Okay. And you said it's Manila, correct? In
yeah,
Manila or okay, every like because that's like what the city, so is it like outside of the city, like closer
yeah.
to okay.
Yeah, so Manila, so this is like Metro Manila. So Manila has 14 to 17 million people. It really depends on who you ask, but it is the most heavily, densely populated city in the world. So whatever that means. No, so what that means is it's very spread out. So like you could go to a like a Chinese city where like everyone is up, right? So they have like giant skyscrapers that are just full of thousands of people. So in the city, which is very rich. We're not in the city, but they do have skyscrapers in the city. But where we are, actually, like from the birth center or like right around the corner from the birth center, you can see the city. It's you can see the whole skyline. So you're not in Manila. That would be super expensive, and that's where the rich people live. You are a suburb. Um, I would say you're 20 plus minutes into Manila. And that's only because of traffic. So if you went by miles, it's not that many miles. But yeah, it's 20 to 30 minutes to get into Manila on a good day. On a not good day, it can be an hour to 2 hours, depending on where you're going, even though it's not that far. It's taken us on the weekends. It took like an hour and 45 minutes to go about 8 miles, which from somebody who's from Indiana in flat farmland, that's insane. An hour and 45 minutes to go 8 miles. Like I was just like blown out of my mind. And so that's on a weekend, that's on a Saturday. We're not going to do that. I learned the hard way. And they'll tell you, but it was what it was. But yeah, the weekends are difficult. So um yeah, you're not in Manila. You're an hour away from the airport. Again, that hour can be 2 hours depending on the day. Um, and so we're like, there's a couple apartment complexes that are taller, but everything's kind of two, maybe three stories high. And it's just looks like a normal town. but there is, so everything is a barangay. So everything's like a gated community. And so within that gated community, um, not a gated community, like a guard, like every community has their own guards. And anyways, like every community has their own stuff. And so some people don't even have to leave their communities. Like most of what we do, we don't leave our own community if we don't, if we were normal, you know. Um, so there's a birth center in the community that we live in. So if I was to stay there and go back there to work, I would really never leave. Our church is here, the grocery store is here, there are schools here. And so a lot of people don't really leave their immediate community. But Shipra is about 3 miles away in another community. And so yeah, so you have like a small community feel within each community. So when you do postpartums, you'll go to different communities, but the majority of what you'll do is within literally like 1 square mile. So
I have a question.
yeah.
So my first question is like, as a student midwife,
Mhm.
um, I'm wondering, like, I'm doing the NARM pathway. I'm in my primary phase. I'm wondering, like, can I get signatures while I'm there for the CIM pathway?
Yeah. I was just laughing at you, Jessica, because I want you to come. I want you to
I
come.
know I want to come so bad. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my next question was, what are the dates? Because I really want to come.
Yeah. So they're in the email. If somebody wants to pull up the
Oh,
email
so
and
those are set dates.
those are set dates, but you don't have to come those set dates, but
Okay. Thank you.
those will be the most fun dates because
Okay.
but yeah, those aren't. The only thing I would say is if you actually want experience and you want to catch, uh, we'll make sure you don't come when the German midwives are here because then you're competing. You're not competing. You would have to take a rotation. And so I don't want you to have to take a rotation
Okay.
because there's just not enough births to rotate. So one of the other things that we'll do while you guys are here is there are two other clinics that do much higher birth volumes. So the clinic that's in my community, they do August, they're going to do about 40 births. And so, but they're not allowing foreigners into the births, which is why I'm no longer there. So there's a whole thing behind it. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But you can go to the clinic and I can ask them potentially. I didn't think about this. I'm literally thinking about it out loud, but I could potentially ask them if you could like come for a morning shift or an afternoon shift and watch their prenatals because it looks very different. Um, yeah, because they're seeing like 50 to 60 women a day, and we see, I'll be honest, we see like 4 to 8 women a day. So at Shipra, 4 to 8 women a day versus 40 women a day. It's a big difference. And so it looks different. So they do allow interns and visitors to come and participate in prenatals and postpartums in the clinic, just not the births. And so there's that clinic, and then there's another one called Shalom, which is the opposite direction, and they do somewhere between 20 to 30 births a month. And I don't
Sorry, can
have,
you repeat that? You like really cut out
yeah,
for a
sorry.
minute.
There's
Okay.
there's another birth center the other way that does 20 to 30 births a month. I don't have the same relationship with them, but they do also allow interns. So I know we could visit. I don't know if they would allow for you to like watch their every day. But they take a lot of nurse interns for a month at a time. So they usually have a few of their own interns that are nurses. But we would probably visit that one as well because I want you to see how things are done differently. But they're all three Christian birth centers. And then, like I
Thank
said, if you want to fly to Davao,
Yeah.
you can do that too.
I want to see it all, but
I
yeah.
know.
Thank you.
There's an amazing one that I just got to see for my birthday, which was July 1st. I think we went on the 2nd. Whatever day we went, there's one in Cebu City, which is another island. And it's an amazing birth center. So you can also go there as an intern. I don't know as much about, I mean, I asked them, but I tried to get in there as an intern and I couldn't get enough follow-up. But I did get to go visit for a part of a day while we were there, and that's called Glory Reborn, and it is amazing. It's so much more than a birth center. I would call that kind of the golden standard. Um, yeah, they do amazing things there. So that's another island. And then there's another birth center that I've been to north of Manila, 10 to 12 hours. And they also take interns as well. And it is called Abundant Grace of God. So there are other places, not just Shipra, because again, Shipra doesn't have your higher numbers. So if you want something that has higher numbers, uh, there are these other places that I can connect you with as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out and we can talk about all that. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, so the price, okay, let me read through this and I will. No air con, that's what they call it here. So no air conditioning. Um, and yeah, so okay. So the price is 1,500 for that like week and a half. It's under 2 weeks. So usually it works best in my experience to leave on a Wednesday and then you usually arrive on a Friday. And then that gives you the weekend or like Friday we would go and get you some basic supplies and things like that. But it gives you a little bit of time to figure out that jet lag. So right now we are 12 hours ahead. I'm in the future, so ask me those really important deep questions because I'm in the future. So I am half a day. I'm so funny actually. You guys, I'm half a day ahead of you. So it is Saturday morning here, um, 12 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. So the jet lag can be a little rough, depending on just a lot of different things. But and then you generally leave on like a Monday, Tuesday, and those dates aren't like exactly set. So like I don't even remember what they were. If you leave on a Monday or Tuesday, but again, there's leeway there. The trips are back to back, so as long as you were leaving potentially, like if that's your goal, leaving before the next team comes, then there is some flexibility in when you would have to leave. And then there are Ubers, there are Grabs that you can schedule only for the airport. So that makes it nice because you don't have to worry about that. So if for some reason we can't take you back to the airport, you can always get a Grab because a lot of flights come in at 3, 4, 5 a.m. They also can leave really early in the morning and or really late at night, but there's always that service and you can pre-schedule that. Um, so you don't have to worry about, yeah, how long a grab would take and that sort of thing. Um, so there is some flexibility again coming and going. But we would have class from not class, but like group activities and things scheduled from that Friday to that following Monday or Tuesday, whatever day I said. Those would be the actual dates. But again, there is some flexibility coming and going depending on, flights. Because so yeah, so it's 1,500. That would include figuring out your Sims card. Like we'll provide it. I'm just not sure exactly how that'll work, but a Sims card, all your transportation, all of your postpartum transportation. That will include some of the different trainings and workshops that we'll be doing. That will also include a few dinners that we'll eat together out. So we'll eat some locally, and then there's a nice restaurant about 15 minutes away that we'll go there as well. That's nicer, and do some of those things. So those things will be covered as well. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a $40 steak. That is not included. But the basic, things like that would be included. So what's not included would be, and if we go to the beach or like we go to waterfalls, like that's all included. Basically, if you want to eat your own food, um, like yeah, if you don't like, so breakfast is not included. So it's kind of included. We will include like some eggs and some bread and things like that for you to do your own thing for breakfast. And then lunch will be included at the birth center during the week. And then most of our meals, some of our dinners we'll eat out together or eat in together. But if you want other food, so Grab is really cheap. Okay, so exported things or imported things are very expensive. So if you want cereal, oh my gosh, it's really expensive. If you want um, Dr. Pepper, it's really expensive. But ask me how I know. My husband's obsessed with Dr. Pepper. But if you want a massage, it's super cheap. If you want to like grab food, like grab Uber food, like DoorDash, we never do that in the US because it's outrageous. Here, it's like they do it on motorcycles. And so it might be like 50 cents to $1 to get food delivered. And they can do it in like 15 to 20 minutes, where you can even get to the place in 15 to 20 minutes in a car. And so it's totally worth that 50 cents to $1 to just have certain things delivered. So it's kind of weird to wrap my head around that because I don't do that in the US. But logistically, so if you want to go on a motorcycle, it's super cheap. That's the cheapest way. It's also the scariest way, I'll be honest. But again, it depends on how adventurous you are. We wouldn't do that. Like that's something you can do, but that's not part of what we would do. You would always be in a group, uh, in a grab or, a trike or a jeepney together. But yeah, so your own transportation if you're going to go do some things on your own food if you want to eat out or go do some things on your own. And then there's like a couple meals that we would have basic food for, like basic groceries. But if you wanted to grab or Uber something in, that would be, additional. And then obviously if you want to buy a t-shirt or, whatever that looks like. So, and then you would buy your own plane ticket. So, Jess is coming from Virginia, right? West Virginia?
West Virginia.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
And Dawn, where do you live? Do you live in the Northeast?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Okay. See, I can kind of remember. Jess, I always
Yeah.
forget, which I was pretty sure is West Virginia, but I was like, wait, maybe it's Virginia.
It's just
Um,
Virginia, but west.
yeah. Oh, okay. And so, yeah, so everyone's plane tickets are going to look different depending on where you want to fly from, what your layover looks like. But we'll go over that. You don't need a visa. You get a 29-day visa. So Dawn or Jess, if you want to come, I would come as far into that 29 days as possible. You can extend it easily, but you have to extend it for another 29 days. So it's not like you can extend it for an extra 2 days. You have to pay the whole price for the another 29 days minimum. So it's kind of like if you're not going to stay long enough to make it worth it, you might as well exit at that 29 days. And you have to have an exit plan ticket within the first 29 days. So what that means is if you wanted to come for 35 days, sorry. So if
Shanna,
you,
we missed all of that. You cut out.
okay, sorry. Yeah, if you lose me, just stay on. I'll hop back on. Like I said, we have typhoons coming and going. Um, Okay, so if you wanted to stay more than 29 days, we can talk about that. It just, you have to have an exit ticket to enter the country. So if you're coming for, say, 40 days, you have to prove that you're leaving the country within the first 29 days in order to get on the plane to come into the country. So there's different ways that people go about that. But that's something to know if you want to stay longer than 29 days. But again, if it's going to be like 32 days, I would say just make it 29 and it'll save you a lot of time and money. So what other thoughts or questions? What did I do with my notebook?
I have a quick question. I apologize if you already touched on this, but as far as like the teams heading over, would we be meeting up at the birth center or like at the airport?
Yeah, so it really depends as far as, so we'll do team, like I said, team Zooms and things ahead of time so that you guys know each other. You might end up, the goal is nice if the majority of you can end up at the airport around the same time. It takes a while to get through immigration and things, but so you may end up together in Manila, but if somebody's coming like a day early or, a lot of people, a lot of those international flights come in at 5 a.m., somewhere between 4 and 5 a.m. But if your flight comes in at 2 p.m., then you're probably going to be the only one at the airport at that time. So if you don't meet at Manila together at the airport, then you will meet at the birthing center. And I would be there to make sure that you get into the apartment and answer questions. And like I said, After everyone arrives, we'll do a basic orientation. We'll run to the mall.
You cut out again there.
It's not even warning me that I'm cutting out. Sorry. Um, I would be there to when you arrive, whatever that looks like, and then we'll run to the mall, because that's where you go for like main things. So like a Sims card. If you want to get money, it's cheaper at the mall. So you won't be alone. We'll connect and make sure that you have somebody once you get to the airport, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The goal is to make this as least stressful, because I know a lot of you will be traveling alone. So
Mhm. Yeah.
So would you recommend that we arrive like a day early, or should we arrive the day of like the 7th if we're coming like for the earlier trip?
yeah, so the 7th actually, I believe, built in, let me look real quick. The 7th was a suggested day to leave. So normally it works best if you leave on a Wednesday and then arrive on a Friday. Does that make sense? And then when was that trip over the 19th maybe? Um, and then you would fly out like that day. So the dates that I have are like the day that you will actually ideally want to fly out and fly and yeah. And then so fly out of wherever you're from and then fly out of Manila because it just looks a little different. A lot of people will fly through Turkey, through Istanbul. That tends to be a cheaper flight. And Istanbul is notorious for having 12 to 24-hour layovers, and they do this on purpose. So the cheapest flights almost always have the longest layovers. But I will say, um, depending on how adventurous you are, Istanbul has this program where they actually want tourism. And so that's why they have these layovers. So they're made for you to be there on purpose. And so then they set up free hotels for you as well as free tours, which like tours of the city. And you get to choose what tour you want and that sort of thing. And there are different time frames from like 4 hours to 8 hours. And it's actually really great. Like I was like, but we did it on our way home from Manila, and it was one of the best things I've done. So if you do have a layover, I would suggest doing it at the end of the trip and take that extra day in Istanbul because it's like free. They like yeah, it's fun. So um, some of those things like I can't predict, because layovers change things, but leaving on a Wednesday and then leaving whatever that Monday, Tuesday was at the end of the trip. So does that make sense? Because again, everyone's will look different. You can go through Seoul, like Korea, and have like a 3 hour layover, or you can go through Qatar and have a 12 hour layover. So, any other questions? Anything that you didn't completely hear?
Jenna, I actually missed out on earlier when you said what language they speak.
Sorry, they speak Tagalog.
Okay.
Is the main language, but most everyone speaks English as well. So when we go to church, it's actually in English. Now, if you
Oh,
want to go to a Tagalog only speaking church, you're free to do that. But it's very overwhelming for your brain because you're already taking in everything you see, smell, taste is different and unfamiliar. So your brain is already under this unconscious stress. Excuse me. And so, again, you're free to do that, and we can send you to a Tagalog speaking church, or but just having that language always around you, it just makes you tired, because your brain's trying to process what to do with all of that. And
yeah.
so, again, like I want you to get something out of church per se, and going to an English speaking church just makes it a little bit easier. Now, they kind of go in and out of Tagalog, so um, sometimes they'll be talking, and then the person might not have the right words So they might, switch back to Gaelic and then back to English. But for the most part, you'll understand what's going on. The pastor is American and Filipino. He doesn't actually even speak Tagalog. Like he knows words, but he's not fluent. So he doesn't really go back and forth. But if they have like a guest speaker or announcements, that sort of thing, it's kind of in and out of English. But you get the idea. So
Mhm.
yeah. But if you go somewhere and you need something, somebody speaks English.
A
And
little
again,
bit
it's
off of topic here, but you
yeah.
mentioned at the very beginning of this that you do other trips to like Africa and I forget the other place that you mentioned. Do you have any upcoming trips to those as well, or just the Philippines for now?
Yeah, just the Philippines for now because I'm stuck here in a good way, but I'm stuck here doing my I'm stuck doing my continuity of care births that I can't really leave for. But next fall, we'll have a doula training here where, again, you could come and be a part of the doula training, help teach, that sort of thing. There's not that many doulas here. And so we will have another training, whether it's in Manila or one of those other islands that I said. And then after that, hopefully we will have potentially a Guatemala trip, a Mexico trip, an African trip. I can't go at the moment. But there will be more international training trips if you're interested. Just won't be until I get done with my births, I guess.
Sure. Okay. And then as far as like for the Philippines trips, how many team meetings would there be before the dates of?
Yeah. So before when I was building teams, we would meet monthly until the very end, and then we would meet like every other week and then every week, kind of like prenatals. But since you aren't participating in like teaching and training anything, we'll probably just meet, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Again, there's some like reading that I would love for you guys to potentially read. If you're interested, that might help you. And we can discuss some of the highlights of those books, even if you don't read them, and go over again some cultural stuff and some expectations, some different things to make it that transition easier prior to coming. So probably, I mean, we don't even have. It would be like once a month, maybe starting in August, September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, so maybe like 5 or 6.
Okay. Then as far as buying tickets, I think this is my last question.
Yeah.
How far in advance would you recommend like purchasing those? Is that kind of a last minute purchase or just whenever?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on that space, and that space has changed. Um, so it used to be like that 6 to 8 week point was like the golden, like perfect time. That's not true anymore in my experience. That's not been true since COVID. Just what I've read and experienced personally. The sooner the better. So these tickets range from 1,000 to 2,000 plus dollars. So if you wait to like the last month, you're talking $2,000, $3,000. If you do it now, usually within that 6 months, you're going to get the cheapest rates. Now it can fluctuate over, several days where like one day you look and the cheapest 3 flights are, X, Y, and Z. And then in a week they change a little bit. And you might find a better layover or something like that. But yeah, if you wait, then it just goes up. There is no, and if somebody else wants to chime in on that, but every time we've bought tickets, the farther out, the cheaper that they've been. There is not this like golden window of the 6 to 8 weeks like there used to be. And I will say, if you want to go to another island, say Cebu or Davao, which is Mindanao, then the sooner you buy those tickets, the better as well. The later, like every week, it gets more and more expensive. The closer you get to the date.
Okay. And is it best then to get a one-way ticket or go ahead and do a round trip?
Yeah, sorry, I'm plugging myself in. You would want to do a round trip ticket. Those are always cheaper. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, if you have questions, we can talk about that. Because there's some of the cheapest flights, like I don't know, what city would you be flying out of?
I would probably be flying out of Seattle, Washington.
Okay. Yeah, so that's nice. So you don't have as many hurdles there, but
Mhm.
um like so I live close-ish to Indianapolis, and most all flights from Indy will go to Chicago, and then Chicago onward. So we always fly out of Chicago. We don't go to Indy. But if you were to go to somewhere that's smaller, like Indianapolis, even though it is an international airport, if it requires another transfer, like it also transfers through Atlanta a lot. So because we fly eastward, so it will go to Chicago or Atlanta mostly. Sometimes Charlotte as well, but you have to watch that because sometimes those layovers are like 30 minutes long and you cannot it's nearly impossible to go, say you fly from Indy to Chicago to make a 30-minute, even 45-minute transfer. And so now if it's in the exact same terminal or if it's in the exact same like gate area and everything like aligns, but if it's not, then like you just can't physically make it. And so I want you to be aware of that too, because I see that as always the cheapest flights, and they're the cheapest because you can't make it. And so
Right.
yeah, so I'm open to like having that conversation too. If you're like, hey, like, what do you think of this ticket? And I'm like, oh yeah, an hour and a half is enough time. No, 45 minutes is probably not enough time. Like, do that at your own risk. Um,
Mhm.
but some places are a lot easier than others. Again, so like Taiwan, I don't know if that's an option to the Philippines. I think it is, but Taiwan's a pretty small airport. And again, it depends. Like, are you flying in at 2 a.m.? Because I've gone through Taiwan at 2 a.m. and like easy breezy, like nothing's happening. But if you try to go through like, Qatar is a really hard one to get through because of extra security and things. So Qatar, it's not easy peasy. So I don't know every airport, but again, it depends. But you do want to look at those layovers pretty easily, um, pretty specifically. So the birth center has been around for 30 plus years and it's grown very organically. And they're at a point where they could use more funding. And so they've always allowed interns, but it's been very like random because again, a part of that goes to the organization to keep the birth center running. The births are free, like mostly. So I can get into that if you want, but basically it's a free ministry. And so they don't take government health insurance. Um, and then you pay the midwives as well. So it's a win-win for the birth center for you to come. It's a win-win for the midwives for you to come. And so that's kind of my part in helping you guys get here is to make that connection for them. And so if you choose to come outside of one of the teams, the goal again, if you don't need a team, if you don't want the like mission trip experience, you can come at any time. And you can even bring your husband, you can bring your kids. That would also depend on as long as the apartment was available, you can bring your whole family. Like I know it'd be great to see several of you come and bring, your whole family. Um, then it would be up to you. If you're like, hey, I really want to learn helping babies breathe, I'm going to be there for a month. I'm happy, like I'm here. I'm happy to do that course with you. If you're like, hey, I want to practice sutures, then we just go to Ate Lydia. So everyone's Ate. So we go to Ate Lydia, and I'm sure like so she works every fourth day. She would be happy on her shift because she's there for 24 hours. She'd be happy to go over suturing with you, and that sort of thing. So know that if you come for like some random time, we will integrate whatever you want integrated into that. It just won't be as busy by any means. But if you're like, hey, I want to do suturing, like who doesn't want to do suturing? Like it's fun. It's scary. I don't want to do it on a real person, but it is fun to like learn it, right? So we will integrate those things for you based on what you want. But it won't be as scheduled by any means. So not
Okay.
if you don't come with a group, no, like we have nothing to do with you. It's not necessarily like that. That has been how it's been in the past because of just the cap the capacity that they had, and who there was no one to like take care of the interns per se. Like no one was focused specifically on interns, and I am. So yeah, I'm happy to integrate those things and make that work for you. So
Thanks.
so we have the cookie
So
cutter,
if we
which
did,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we did decide to go to one of the other islands during the scheduled or following the scheduled trips, would we be in direct contact with those birth centers, or would that be going through you?
No, I would help you. So it would be directly with them, but I could help you to connect with them. So Again, Glory Reborn, I was just there, but it's not like I'm like on a first name basis where I'm just like, hey, blah blah blah. But for DeVal, I can Facebook message her. I had another intern that really wanted to go there just a few weeks ago, and she flew to Davao, so I can potentially do that. And to book, I could do that as well. I would obviously connect you with the basic information, but if you didn't hear back from Georgia, which she's really on top of it, if you didn't hear back from Georgia, then I'd be happy to like be the middleman and help you with that. But for the most part, yeah, that would be something that I could get you, I could help you if you needed help with it.
Mm.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or questions? Yeah, so what I was going to say is these 2 weeks are kind of cookie cutter as far as like this is kind of what we want to do. We're going to like schedule these things, and we'll have other trips that are shorter like this where things are like scheduled to kind of give a vision trip, a mission, like a vision trip, mission trip kind of feel on purpose. For those who want that, like everything tied up in a nice little box. But if you want to come outside of one of those cookie cutter boxes, completely fine. And that's something that we would figure out what makes sense for you. Again, like, is it just you? Is it your whole family? It's going to look different based on like how long you're going to come for. Um, but yeah, let us know that so we can work that out. Again, because we really only have one good housing option, which is next door. And so we have to like make sure that that housing option is available. So obviously, if you're bringing your whole family like mine, we're not going to share that with like other interns. Like that would just be weird and not make sense. But if it's just you and you're willing to share with another, and we'll just work that out. So yeah, I will, again, I don't have my phone. So what is today, like the 26th, 25th, 26th? I don't know. Um, I would say like ideally by August 1st, like who is seriously want to participate in one of the two trips that we already have. Like I said, some of you have emailed me and said, hey, this is the date. Or some have said either or. And then by the 15th, some kind of deposit, maybe we'll only do $250. I'm not really sure. But that way you guys feel secure and so you can purchase your tickets and we have an idea of like, hey, we have 2 ladies coming or we have 5 ladies coming or whatever that looks like. And then if you want to come outside of those trips, we can start that conversation as well to see what that would look like. Now that'll look a little different. So if you're coming for a longer period of time, that fee will look different as well, if that makes sense. So, and again, it will depend. Are you coming for a month? Are you coming for longer? We would have to plug that in and see exactly what that is, but it would still be not tons more than that because the bulk of what you're paying is kind of already paid. But um, yeah, so I don't have a number for that, but that would be dependent on how many weeks because we can prorate it or whatever, but it won't be like, for instance, if you come for a month, it's not going to be like $3,000. It's not going to be like double just because you're doubling the time. Um, but there will be some increases for housing because you're staying longer, for food because you're staying longer, for the midwives because they're working with you longer. Those fees will all increase. But things like some of the training fees or the like basic transport and the Sims card like that you've already paid for. So that won't so it won't double in price. I just don't know exactly what it would be off the top of my head. So okay. So yeah, I will send out this recording if I can figure out how to splice all three of them together. And then I will send that to everyone because I would say there was like 30, I can't remember, 30, 32 people interested. Again, they were not all interested in those two trips, but potentially a trip next year. And then have whoever's interested in giving me a date by August 1st, and then some kind of deposit, whatever I say in the email, $250, $500, whatever that is by say August 15th, something like that. So I'll put that all in the email with this recording so that everyone has an opportunity to watch it. And then, yeah, I will reach out to the people that have already pre-told me their dates to confirm if I don't hear from you again. Um, but yeah, and I'll probably send the video of the apartment. So, and then I have pictures. Um, if we're Facebook friends, you can, I have a lot of pictures on my like reels on my daily stories or whatever. Um, but if we are friends on Facebook or if you want pictures, they're very basic rooms. So I guess I didn't touch on this before. So Shipra calls themselves a birthing home. So everywhere else you'll find birth centers or maternity centers, and all the other birth centers are licensed by the Department of Health, so the DOH. And so the DOH requires certain things. And so they like them to birth on their backs. They like just different procedures and protocols. Shipra is a birthing home, which was organically birthed from Jerry's house, her own house. So she came here as a missionary. She's trained as a history teacher, not even as a midwife. That's not what she came here for. But long story short, she did learn and apprentice under someone, and births started happening in her home. And so then eventually they purchased this home, and they continue to be very organic in the sense of how they did things. So each room looks kind of like a bedroom, not a clinic. It doesn't look like a clinic. So the other places that we'll go look very much like a clinic. They are clinics. This one, they don't want to be a clinic. They want it to be a home. So the midwives live there for 24 hours. They wear street clothes. You will wear street clothes. I have a bunch of doula shirts. So this one says, love them all. So I have shirts. Basically, all my shirts say like birth stuff. This is my only like kind of, it's not really birthy, it's just whatever. But so I wear a t-shirt and shorts every day, which is weird because I'm used to wearing scrubs. So you wear street clothes, and it's very non-invasive what they do. They don't have an ultrasound machine or anything. They do send and require an ultrasound, but they don't do any in-house versus the other two clinics do them in-house. Now, I'm working on getting a butterfly, handheld butterfly, like it's in the works. Jerry's not excited about that. But we had a surprise breach the other day. So, anyways, my butterfly will be something that I purchased, and it will be available to use at the clinic, which is a handheld ultrasound. But there's also these midwives also do other places they are midwives. Well, they anyways, there's other places that these midwives can use this ultrasound machine as well, where you wouldn't take a real ultrasound machine. Anyway, so there's different opportunities there. But in this clinic, it's very like low risk, really low risk, very, very as simple and basic or organic. They want it to feel like a home. They want it to, it's very open door. The midwives, their husbands come for dinner. The house manager, her son comes with her to work every day. And school just restarted, so they have their hottest months is their summer break, and now they're back in school. And so like she brings her son to work, and then he gets ready there, and then like gets on the bus there. And but during the summer he was there all day and brought his pet chicken, Rambo. Rambo's super fun. He's got like a red mohawk. But anyways, and he's this little chick that he came from day one. So there's a house dog who's he's interesting. There's like a crazy house cat, and now there's like a house chicken. Yeah, I was telling this to someone the other day, and they said that sounds like a children's book, like the midwives and their pets. But so it's very much an open door, literally and figuratively. And so people are coming and going, people's husbands, people's kids, the midwives' kids will come because again, they're staying there for 24 hours. So all of these midwives were hired when they were young and single, and they've all then got married and had kids. So they've all been there 10, 20 to 30 years. They've all been there very long term. And so they've all gone from like young new midwives to like mothers. And now most of them, their kids are graduating from college. And the pay really hasn't changed. I'm talking like pesos per day, like very little change over their time. And so now, like I said, a lot of them, two or three of them had kids graduate from high school just a few weeks ago, and now they're going into college. And you guys coming is a real blessing to them to be able to afford to put their kids in college. And yeah, so it's very much like there's still people sometimes that I'm like, who is that? Like, I don't even know. It's somebody. And people are coming and going, and interns are coming and going. And we have, there's an orphanage next door that is associated, but they have their own rules as well. So if you're really interested in that, it's a very small orphanage. Um, Maybe they have like 5 kids, 8 kids. They're very particular about people coming and going out of their lives. And so, like, if there's something that you really want to do, and if you're here longer than like a week, then they would be willing to work with you. If you want to like go into the children's home, but there is a children's home next door as well. Um, yeah, so I have no idea what the question was, but oh, it's a birthing home, so no scrubs, not a lot of medical. They do use a Doppler. I was actually not even sure if they used a Doppler when I first met Jerry because she was like, "Oh, we don't use any kind of technology," but they do use a Doppler. I have not even seen a fetus scope, but I have one. I've never seen one there, but I really thought, "Oh, I'm gonna really learn how to use a fetus scope." But so they do use a Doppler, and they do send them out to get labs and things like that. But yeah, it's pretty low key. Their charting's pretty low key, but I would teach you how to chart if you want to chart during a birth. Again, if you feel comfortable doing certain things, even if it's not catching, maybe delivering the placenta, they definitely allow you to cut the cord, clamp and cut the cord. Some dads do it, but majority of dads don't want to do that. So they're like, here, you can clamp the cord and cut the cord, and they walk you through that. So there is a lot of hands-on opportunities, but again, it's a home, and that's intentional, and that's why I also want to show you the clinics, and so you can see the drastic difference. And so because they're not licensed, they can't receive PhilHealth. So PhilHealth is, Filipino healthcare, but you have to pay into it monthly. And so it's not free, but it depends on your income of how much you pay each month. So this birth center only, so it's free to birth there, but they require 600 pesos for some of the supplies. And then a lot of the supplies they're required to bring themselves. So 600 pesos is like less than $12. So pesos are about double and then minus a little bit. So if something's 100 pesos, it's really like $2, like just under $2. So you would double 100 to 2, so 200, but then it's a little less than that. But so it's about 1200, it's about 12 USD to deliver at the birth center, and that just goes to some of the stuff that they use. But the actual birth itself is free. All the prenatals and postpartum care is free, and we take eggs and rice to every postpartum home visit, and so that's something that comes out of the organization's money. The transportation for the midwives to go to the home visits comes out of their pockets and things, out of the organization. So I've done the math that it's about $6 per home visits for the round trip transportation, plus the eggs, plus the rice, plus the they take them like lactation pills, that sort of thing. And then prenatals are a little less because they're not providing them at this time. They're not providing them eggs and rice. I hope by the time you guys come that we'll be providing eggs for prenatals. The other reason I want to touch on this, that the other places are bigger and they have the ability to do more advertising because they are licensed. But the reason why Shipfra's numbers are so low is because during the COVID, the government decided no first-time moms and no 5 times and above moms, which so they can only birth there if it's baby number 2, number 3, or number 4. And so, and you have to be at least 19 and no more than 35. So even if you're pregnant at 34, but you're going to deliver 2 weeks after you turn 35, you can't birth outside of a hospital. And so that narrowed everything down, and it cut everybody's numbers in at least half. So even the super busy places are cut in half. But ours was cut by like 75%, 80%. And so we're still trying to pray through and work through why that is. But that's why the numbers are so low. And again, these midwives are like, hey, like we've been doing this for 30 years. Like whoever comes through the door, we're happy with. But we're trying to do some more childbirth education and more baby showers and more community events and get back to that. But they haven't been doing any of that since, 2019. And so we're slowly bringing that stuff back. We started childbirth education again as of this month. So we're seeing more moms, but the fact that we can't take G1s is really tough because those are the women that usually want to birth there, and we can't take the people who are on, G5s, G6s, which they also want to come back because they had all their other babies there. And then miscarriages and losses. If you have a miscarriage and then you have a live birth, you can birth there. But if you have, so that counts as one. But if you have like if you've had like three babies and then you had a miscarriage and then you're pregnant again with technically what would be your fourth live birth, you can't birth there because it's your G5 and so it knocks you out. So it's really strange rules. It's not like that in any other country around the world as far as I know, but so that's what makes it hard. We do see some G1s and we do see some G5s and 6s for prenatal care, and we will provide them prenatal and postpartum care. They just cannot deliver there. Um, they can't do VBACs outside of the hospital. And because every first-time mom now has to deliver in the hospital, there's a 30 to 40% or higher C-section rate. So if they get a C-section, that's it. They can't do multiples, they can't do breech. And so it just narrows it down, right? And that's why it is so low risk, but also low numbers. So you will see moms there that aren't delivering there because we can still provide care. They just can't deliver there. So it's an interesting thing that's happened within the last 2 to 3 years. So
So as a doula, are you allowed to go into the hospital with the G1s
so
or the G5?
they're allowed, so it depends. So if it's a public hospital, which is the demographic we're usually working with, no. So they birth in group rooms. So they labor, they might have a room that they take them in just to push, but they labor in a group room. And I've seen some of them, they don't allow husbands, they don't allow anybody else. There's just no room for it. It's literally bed to bed to bed. But if you go to a private hospital, which is way more expensive because it's not covered by insurance, then you can have a husband and sometimes a doula. But the doulas here pretty much do illegal home birth. So there is some home birth, but it's a really gray area or birth center births. And this birth center does do water birth. Um, but they have to pay like $200 to have a water birth. And so it's maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. And we've had three here since I've been here for 2 months. And I've only been allowed to attend one of those. The other two did not want anyone else besides the two midwives. So there's always two midwives at every birth. And so that's completely up to them, of course. And that's true, like if they're not having a water birth, but usually a not non-water birth, they're like, sure, whoever. But a water birth, they tend to be less likely to allow someone else in, but they do offer it. But again, it's really rare. So yeah. Oh, if you have a question that I didn't touch on. Yeah, so if you have another question. If she sends me an email, then I can add her to the list or have her fill out the form because I'm just mass sending information through the form. So if you have somebody interested, have them fill out the form as soon as possible because once I figure out how to put these videos together, then I will upload them to our private YouTube and then I will send them. We have a YouTube for you who don't know this, but for our doula trainings, but we also have a public YouTube that's Shanna Bradley Created to Birth. And I have maybe like 9 videos about the Philippines. They're really, really bad. They're really, really bad videos. But there are videos of me just explaining like basic life stuff. And so and there's some pictures and videos and stuff in there as well. For instance, like laundry. So there's no laundry. I don't know if that was in the email, but there's no laundry the in the apartment. So you actually, it's very common to take your laundry somewhere here. There's just nowhere really close. Like the birth center sits on a hill. So if you want to go do anything outside of your little community, you have to walk down this hill, which seems really intimidating at first, but once you do it, it's actually not that bad. But you would have to take your laundry down the hill and then up another little hill. And so there's just things like that that we explain a little bit in those really bad. I'm telling you, they're really bad. I have no idea, dude. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just throw out some information for our supporters. But things like that, it talks about that there might be some videos in there that show what a jeepney ride is like or a trike ride. But yeah, it's a fun adventure. And like I said, most they teach English. So in Manila, everyone knows English. Even if they say they don't know English, they will probably understand you, but they might not feel confident to respond in English. But if you get outside of Manila, so if you go to another province, if you go to another birth center that's farther out, they're not as likely to actually speak English or understand what you're saying. I'm not sure about Davao. Like I've been in Davao, but it was only for like 2 days. So again, they speak a different language. They speak Visayan, I think. And I don't think English is as common there, but for the most part, again, you're always going to be able to have your basic things. Somebody will speak enough English to help you get and navigate anything basic. But in Manila, it's pretty easy, honestly. So not as big of a deal here. But even if you were to come for 6 months or a year, I do not speak the language. We are looking for a language teacher, actively looking for a language teacher that works around my clinic schedule because we want to learn the language. But it's actually not necessary, but it's obviously good practice. So anything else?
Sorry, really
Yeah,
quickly. My
yeah.
husband had a question. Um, so I think what I'm probably would be what I would probably do is do the what's it called? New Life, the other one that I was looking at. Eventually at some point go with them. So my husband was thinking, well, if I was interested in working in the Philippines, being trained in the Philippines, then we should all just go as a family so that he can see, I mean, we grew up as missionary kids, we understand what that life is like. Um, but he was like, well, if we're interested in this, then maybe we should all go just so I can see what it's like. But the midwifery school is in a completely different area.
It's a different island.
Okay, so this would be just something like different that I would do and probably go to that another time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we can show you some things that they might not have time to show you in Davao. Like
Right.
you can go there and they will show you things, but I'm saying like you could get a yeah, I don't know if but you can easily so to get to Davao you have to fly into Manila anyway. So
Right.
you have to transfer in country. So it's worth potentially coming and seeing us either way. But
Oh
we
yeah,
might,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, but we might be able to even like show your family some things easier than they're just super busy in Davao as well. So like I don't
Okay.
know what that would look like and what kind of time, but you can as a family visit there. I just don't know what that looks like for if they're in the middle of like classes and things, what that would look like. Now Davao is very different because Davao is only a few million people. The traffic is like what you would call normal traffic. It is not like Manila traffic. Manila traffic is special. It's in its own category. But so Davao is prettier. It's less of a city. It's more green. It's less traffic. So it's not apples to apples, but we're really good,
Okay.
similar. But Davao will see about 1,500 women a year. We don't even
Okay.
come close to that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
How
Anybody
much is
else?
a month at a private
How much is
hospital
how
a
much is what?
Philippine? How much is a birth at a private hospital for a Filipino lady?
Um, maybe like $1,000, maybe not.
US.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So their numbers here are really high. So like $1,000 would be well, I just paid 31,000. I paid $33,000, which was $615 for immigration like yesterday. So maybe like 50,000, maybe it's like 50,000, like 50,000 pesos is like $1,000, something like that. Um, so yeah, so like I can't remember what the number is, but you pay based on the day. So like it depends how many hours you're going to be there, how many days you're going to be there. Um, it's all, nickel. They nickel and dime everything here. So like things are like cheaper, but like for instance, if you go to a restaurant to eat at the restaurant, and we have leftovers and we're like, hey, we want to, can we have a box to take this home? They will charge you and like you have to pay them additional money to get the box. So private hospitals are the same way. Like, yeah, it might be X amount of dollars, but then depending on how long you stay and that sort of thing. And most hospitals, like in postpartum, someone has to bring you food. Like there's no food. So someone has to bring you food and that sort of thing. And um, private hospitals, you have to pay to even be admitted. So you have to give like a down payment. You can't just show up. They don't expect you to actually, they don't expect people to pay per se. So like they don't trust you on that. So like you have to pay X amount of dollars, say 200, 300, 400 US to even get into a private hospital. And then you have to pay the remainder to exit the hospital. Does that make sense? So like there's no billing you later. You have to pay for whatever, but they make you prepay to get in. And hospitals here can turn away women for whatever, whenever. So you can be like about to push a baby out and you show up at a hospital and they're like, nah, go to another hospital. And you could have three, four, five hospitals tell you that, and then they just go home and they give up and they just birth on their own and hope for the best. And that doesn't always work out. Moms and babies are dying because hospitals are turning them away and they're just delivering on their own. And so that's a big problem. So one of the clinics here is actually building a hospital. They're fundraising, which is a clinic we'll go to. They're fundraising to finish so they can build a hospital that does not turn women away. Um, and will be able to care for moms no matter what number of baby it is. And so, but yeah, it's different here where they can just deny you care for any reason whatsoever. And so how much an actual birth cost really varies on every little thing that they charge you for. But I think it's somewhere in the 1,000 to $2,000 US range for a private hospital.
Hmm. What would be a reason they would turn a lady away?
Just because they think she can't pay, they think um, it might be complicated. So in order to normally take you, so everyone has to go, if you want to birth outside of a hospital, you have to go to the hospital for one prenatal, and they actually do an EKG. So they look at their heart. And so if you don't go to the hospital for that one prenatal and then you need to transfer out of, to the hospital, they can deny you. So if you go see them for one prenatal, they're most likely going to accept you. But they don't have to, but they will most likely accept you. But if you don't ever go there for one checkup with your EKG, or if you don't have labs, if you don't have an ultrasound, they're going to say no thanks. Like you're going to cost us, and we don't think you can pay. So we're going to go to another hospital. We had a mom who gave birth preterm. So I want to say she was 35 weeks. I wasn't there. So this is secondhand, but um, the midwife was telling me like it had happened the day before. She was just telling me about it, but at a different clinic. And this mom was like 35 weeks, so she can't birth outside of the hospital anyways because she's not full term at 37. But she came to them and was like, "Hey, like I gave birth early and this baby isn't doing well, and they had to like help this baby to breathe, and they said you got to take this baby to the hospital." So they're like kind of helping this baby breathe, and they go to the hospital helping a baby breathe. Okay. And the hospital says, no, we're not taking you. We don't have room in our NICU. or they don't really have NICUs, but they're like, we don't have an incubator. So go to find a hospital that has an incubator. And the midwife was like, if this baby leaves here, it's going to die. Like, you will take this baby. Like, you will figure this out. Like, this baby will die if you turn this baby away. And eventually the hospital received the baby. And they separated the mom from the baby. And this was again a different midwife at a different clinic. So I think the baby did survive. But can you imagine like your baby's like having difficulty breathing? It's small because babies are already small here at full term. So it was extra small. And the hospital's like, we don't care if your baby dies. Go take public transit to another hospital. Good luck. And yeah, so it's a little wild. And again, like there's no rhyme or reason to why they deny you, but they can and they will. So their excuse was we don't have an incubator available. And so they said go somewhere else. But Renee, you should just come. I'm just saying. You and Grace should come.
You're tempting me.
What?
You're tempting me for sure.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, then I want to end in prayer. Most everyone has already left, but that's okay. So, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for these women. We thank you for their heart for birthwork ministry. We thank you for them wanting to just follow where you're leading them, Lord. I pray for clarity and discernment on what you want him to do, where you want him to go, and provision to be able to walk that out, Lord. And I just pray that you be with these women and their families, help them to just be in unity and whatever that looks like, Lord. And we just thank you for allowing us to walk alongside women in such a sacred season of their life. We just thank you and praise you for your goodness. We thank you for life, and we thank you for just being able to be a small part of the work that you're doing in our local communities and in the global community, Lord. In your precious and holy name, amen.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you. Good to see you.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.